you'll want to check out that. All right, if we get everyone seated, we will get started with our evening. My name is Mary Morgan, and I will be your Mistress of Ceremonies for the events tonight. And this is, of course, the second annual Ottawa Township High School Hall of Fame induction ceremony. At this time, I would like to introduce a lady who is certainly very important to us at Ottawa High School. It's Mrs. Anita Kapko, who is the president of the Ottawa High School Foundation. And she'd like to say a few words to you. Mrs. Kapko.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Anita Kapko, and I am not a graduate of Ottawa High School. I'm sorry, I'm not. When my first son was born, someone told me that I would never be as loyal to my own high school as I would be to the high school that my children attended. And I thought, oh, you're nuts. In my high school, I was only the 25th graduating class in my high school. We were young, we were small, we knew everybody in our class, and we had the neatest cheer, and it dated back from Civil War times, and I'd never heard any other school do this cheer, and I knew that I could never feel at home at any school that didn't know that cheer. In 1993, we moved to Ottawa, and our oldest sons were in kindergarten and first grade. So it took a while before we got to a high school sporting event. And when I went to that first Ottawa Township High School football game, and I heard that cheer, I knew that I was home. As you may know, the Ottawa Township High School Educational Foundation is the sponsor for the Ottawa Township High School Hall of Fame. And as we were planning tonight, we thought it would be a good idea to tell you a little bit about the Educational Foundation so that you would know kind of the background of the Hall of Fame. The foundation was established in 1993. It was established to secure and channel private funds to support and promote the educational programs and activities of Ottawa Township High School. It is a 501c3 non-for-profit private foundation, and it is an entity separate and apart from the school district. Our first fundraising project was the Courtyard Project. Through the sale of bricks, blocks, benches, and statues, we raised that first little bit of income that we needed to fund our programs. The courtyard itself is a very valuable asset to the school. It's beautiful. I'm sure that you've been there. And through the very generous donations of a couple of people who remembered us in their estates, the courtyard has recently been named the Spangler-Shearer Courtyard. The lettering for the sign arrived this week and it will be hung up later this spring. Each year, the foundation provides a mini grant program to the teachers and the faculty at Ottawa Township High School. They make requests for maybe it's a guest speaker that they would like for their classroom, or a piece of equipment that they need for their department. And we review those requests, and in some cases we purchase that equipment for them or provide that speaker. This year we had almost 30 grant applications, and we provided funding for almost all of them. Over 25 grant applications were accepted, and the foundation expended more than $40,000 to provide items for Ottawa Township High School. In addition to the Courtyard Project, which is a continuing project, and our yearly grants, we provide monthly recognition for an outstanding senior leader and an innovative teacher. Each department at the high school is assigned a month during the school year, and that month they designate their outstanding senior leader and innovative teacher. Those individuals are recognized at the monthly board meeting. The student receives a $100 savings bond, and the teacher receives a $50 gift certificate to a local restaurant. The Hall of Fame was established by the foundation to inspire and acknowledge excellence in achievement, whether academic, in the fine arts, athletic, or other distinguished achievement. In highlighting the accomplishments of inductees, we believe that current students will be inspired by the standard of excellence and accomplishment achieved by their predecessors, and we will better foster the culture of excellence and achievement. We are very pleased to have you here tonight and to have our second and newest group of inductees. And before I finish, I would like to point out to you the names of the foundation board members who are here tonight. When I call your name, if you could stand, that would be great. Dawn Ahern, Jenny Lamb, Dan Iles, Mary Beth Morelli, Lori Himes, Chris Wolfsman, Jim Carlson, and Jerry Hicks. On behalf of the foundation, I would welcome you to this evening's event, and I would conclude with the words of that time-honored cheer. If the football fellas know it, they can say it with me. Rudolph or die.
Thank you, Anita, very much. I would now like to introduce Mr. Richard Fricke, who will give our convocation.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we ask you to be with us this evening as we celebrate Ottawa High School's second football name campaign. We are thankful for the work and planning and selection committee's work. We are thankful for the safe travel of inductees, both close, near, and those that came from far away. We ask also for safe travel when they return to their home. We're thankful for this meal that will be available and for the people who prepared this food. Pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
It's my pleasure to introduce four members of your award-winning OHS Band Ensemble: Brent Hale, Danielle Sankson, Dylan Freeman, and Josh Selena, play for you three short pieces entitled Sweet for Four Equal Clarinets by Stuart Smith. Band Ensemble. And now, we're going to move to the auditorium.
An inventor, a statesman, a high school principal, teacher/coaches, musicians, and athletes cover the spectrum of inductees for this evening. Once again, displaying the very talents of the individuals who walk the halls of Ottawa High School. And I'm proud to say this year that with just 2 exceptions, I was privileged to walk the halls with them. And even this year, to have taught and had in homeroom several of the inductees. And had a couple in my speech classes. And actually, I'm proud to say that Tom Henderson did pretty well in public speaking. I think he got an A-, I'm not sure. I would like now to introduce to you our superintendent, Mr. John Harrison, to begin the presentation. John.
Thank you, Mary. Good evening to our honorees, our family members, and their friends. This morning, as I was tying balloons, and I believe this was just right after 7 a.m., I sat with the members of the decorating committee. It really sank home how much it takes to put on an evening like this. So before we begin the formal induction, I'd like to thank all of the committee members, all the individuals that worked during the selection process, during the organization, and during the decorating necessary to help us put on an event such as tonight. I'd also like to take a moment, I know Mary did, but I'd like to thank Pat Appleby and her caterers for an excellent dinner. As a final thank you, as Anita explained earlier, the Hall of Fame is supported financially and in numerous other ways by our Education Foundation. I'd like to specifically thank that group for making this ceremony possible. Tonight we're paying tribute to a very special group of individuals. During this, which is the 130th year of Ottawa Township High School, we're here tonight for our 2nd annual induction into our Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame provides a very unique opportunity to honor our graduates, our faculty, and contributors for their outstanding accomplishments. Ottawa High School has a long and very proud tradition of excellence and accomplishment. And this group of 9 individuals and the team that you see behind me is very, very impressive. It's a privilege to even be sharing a small portion of the stage with these individuals. Each of these individuals was selected by way of a 3-tiered selection process. And I'm here to tell you that all of these individuals are very worthy of tonight's honor. The honorees here tonight are here because of their achievements. Those achievements in medicine, education, business, the political arena, coaching, the fine arts, and in sports. Every one of them has affected the lives of many individuals through their accomplishments. It was once said that achievement is pushing yourself to places you've never been, to achieve heights you've never attained, and these inductees before you exemplify achievement. The diversity of their achievements is noted in your programs, and it will serve as an inspiration to our current and future students. As you saw, it's printed on the plaques. Those inductees' plaques are added to our Hall of Fame and will be on the 400 floor, which you probably noted as you walked over this evening. The central plaque on the 400 floor wall does a nice job of explaining what the Hall of Fame is all about. I'd really like to point out a very pertinent passage from that plaque. In bold on the plaque is the statement, "From ordinary beginnings, many, through determination, commitment, effort, and high expectations have accomplished the extraordinary. I thought about it long and hard, and I can't think of a more fitting description of what all the inductees here this evening have done to deserve this recognition. I personally would like to thank all of these inductees for their contributions to Ottawa Township High School, and I want to say that evenings such as this definitely make us all proud to be Pirates. Thank you. You know, the portion of the evening we talked about this that I certainly enjoyed most last year, and I think that everyone enjoyed most last year, was hearing from these inductees. So as we begin the induction, we'll follow the order noted in your program. I would like to take a moment to just introduce each inductee. I will present them with their award, and I will ask that they come forward to say a few words. So without further ado, our first inductee this evening is Julius Hess from our class of 1895. Dr. Hess is represented this evening by his grandson, Bill Saphir. Mr. Saphir.
I'd also like to thank John and a couple other people for at least getting Dr. Julius Hess's name here. And that is Stan Gall and Sidney Stiefel. And I'd also like to thank Mary Morgan and Anita Kalka and John and his staff. Thank you very much. This is an honor. I'll be very quick. I could start by talking about a couple items here, tangibles and intangibles. The tangibles are what are on the plaque here, what Dr. Hess presented here. But there's also intangibles and who the character of the person is. I'd like to just give you a little background on my grandfather. But before I do that, I also like to introduce my brother John, my sister Beth, and my daughter Jill, who are also here representing when it comes to my grandfather, we know a lot about from what the articles have been written about him, but when he was 16 years old, I don't think this is too much well known here, when he was 16 years old, his first semester of his sophomore year, his father died suddenly, followed by his sister the following week. And that was, for ordinary people, I shouldn't say it this way, but it was a shock. And there was some doubt whether he would continue continue going to school. After all, he was 16 years old, it's 1895. They had a factory, and it was logical that he, being the oldest son, would continue in the factory. But he had a dream of going to medicine, and he had a dream, and his parents, his mother and family supported him, and he continued with high school. And that was fortunate. So he graduated in 1895, and by 1899 he was a doctor. And then he just took off from there. And what that tells us is that one of the intangibles is he had a dream and he kept with it. Now his dream was, and dreams can also go in different directions, and one of his directions was he wanted to be a surgeon. But for various reasons he didn't do that. So his second choice was pediatrics, and I always said surgery's loss was pediatrics' gain. And also the world's gain, and all the preemies that were born, and all the babies that were born that may not have been born. And he also bucked some of the tradition. At that time, it was thought, it was common knowledge that any birth beyond, or not, that didn't reach 7 months would not survive. And he didn't take that for granted. And obviously today, that's really the case. We have kids being born well under a pound, well under a kilogram, well under 2 pounds. And his work here enabled that to be possible. Let me give saying a couple words about his character, and that was, He was compassionate, he was austere, and he had an austere air about himself. It wasn't pompous. He had a commanding personality, a commanding person, and which left people in awe. And for some reason, they felt that he had a sense of importance. But he was an uncommon person in that regard. He was not boasting. He was kind and gentle, and this is especially to the patients, not only to the patients, but also to the mothers, just to give them a sense of security that things are going to be okay. That's the kind of person he was. He was a teacher, and he let things, didn't want to necessarily, he preferred being in the background a lot of times. One of the successes that he did with the neonatal care was he let his nurse take the forefront in handling it. And he co-wrote with her those books. So he shared everything that he succeeded in, and he let people know that. I mean, he let people take the limelight as well as he did. So that was part of his character. And the reason I bring all these things up is because, getting back to roots, he and his roots were here in Ottawa. He exemplified Ottawans. He got that from his environment right here. And so I think people here in the audience here, as well as the school, should feel very proud of what they do every day, how they can get translated into great things. And that's you right here in the audience. He was a gentle man, simple. And one thing that during an interview when he was in his 70s, he was being interviewed by a newspaper man. He was asked, what of all your greatest accomplishments would you say would be number one? And without flinching, he replied, his grandchildren. So he lived for his family. So I'm very proud to be part of that legacy. And I'm being proud to be able to share that legacy with you. So I want to thank you all again once more, and I hope you got to know Dr. Hess a little bit better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Safer. At this point, our next inductee is Mr. Robert McKay, represented this evening by his son, Chuck McKay.
It's true, I am Robert McKay. I'm not this one, I'm the other one. I was a junior, but Chuck, I'm better known by Chuck, and it's a nickname which has its own story for another time. I'd like to also acknowledge some other family members. My youngest sister, Karen, and her husband, John Stoll from Shaver Lake, California, are here with us this evening. My oldest sister, Pat Hewson from Hennick, Illinois, is not able to be here, but she's represented by my father's first two grandchildren, Shelley Overstreet from Laguna Niguel, California, and Pam Hinchman from Colorado Springs. They're seated down here. Thank you. My dad, Robert, or Bob McKay, tendered his resignation as a teacher from Ottawa High School in mid-March of '69. He passed away on April 7th, just 3 weeks later or so, before he could officially retire on June 6th. I'm going to take this time to do it and thank the board. He never got the chance to thank him for his watch. He was a graduate of Champaign High School and was prominent in football, basketball, and track. He served as captain of his basketball team in his senior year. He went on to the University of Illinois, where he played a year of football and eventually played basketball, and eventually earned his degree in physical education. He belonged to the Kappa Sigma fraternity, the university's I-Men Association. Then he came to Ottawa in the fall of 1927 as the coach. You have to go back several years after touring this facility today and seeing what's going on. It was a different time, I'm sure. He became involved in the planning and naming of Kingman Gym In 1930, he was appointed as the athletic director, and he served in that capacity until 1942. Remind you, he was still the coach. He initiated the Ottawa relays in 1931-32 and was credited with the installation of the track at King Field. Now, mind you, I wrote this back a couple weeks ago until I saw what you have now. He didn't put that field in, but he would be very proud. He was president of the Illinois State High School Coaches Association in 1932. He also arranged the first interstate football game in a home in his birthplace of Gulfport, Mississippi. I'm not certain, but there was a story related to the installations of the lights on the field. Again, not the ones I saw today. But it was because of they wanted to play a night game because of seemed to me it was an August game or something, and they wanted, because of the potential heat, they wanted to play that night. He spent 4 years in the military as a physical education and military training instructor in the Navy pre-flight program, evaluating prospective Navy pilots. That took the family away for a year when I was in 5th grade, back somewhere in the late war years. Upon his return to OHS, he took over the cadet program and initiated the intramural program within the Corps. It's a shame many of you are not even familiar with that. I understand the Corps died in '72. It was a very interesting program. The girls' drill team was established when the girls asked for equal time, and they were given it at the time. The drill team was performed throughout the area in a joint program with Ray McKeever's band, culminating in an appearance at the annual Chicagoland Music Festival in Soldiers Field. He inaugurated the school's driver education program in 1948 and became a director in the American Driver and Traffic Safety Association. He served for 2 years as president of the Illinois High School and College Driver Education Association. Long titles for a program that was really new and in its infancy. Probably a sign of the times. The 2 young ladies I mentioned, his 2 granddaughters, came back here during the summers from California at the time where they lived. Came back and spent 3 weeks and got their driver's license under the tutelage of their grandfather. I don't suppose you can get away with that kind of thing these days, but he became an area official in basketball and a starter for home and area track meets. He was a long-time Finnish judge and occasional starter at the annual Illinois State High School track meet in Champaign. Aside from his school activities, and this is a point that's not necessarily mentioned in this relation to the school, Dad was known for ownership and operation of Black Hawk Bathing Beach for 27 years. Not only was the beach a favorite recreational spot, but the regular swim lesson program and the Crippled Children's Swim Program, operated jointly with the Daily Republican Times. I'm sorry I'm a little bit out of date here, but the Recreation Department and Easter Seals, it served most of the youth here in the area. I've got hundreds, probably all of you were children years ago. You might have gone and passed your 50-yard swim test. He also was a 4-year commissioner of streets and public safety. He organized most of the parades held in Ottawa over the years, was a member of the Methodist Church, was a charter member of the Lions Club, belonged to the American Legion Post 33, and was active in all branches of the Masons, including the Mohammed Shrine Temple in Peoria. So he did a lot. He was involved, certainly in the school over his 42 years, and his life was given to public service. And thank you very much, whoever it was that nominated him. We're very happy to be here on his behalf, and it counts us.
Thank you, Mr. McKay. Our third inductee is Mcrae Shannon. Members of Mr. Shannon's family were unfortunately unable to attend this evening. We have been in contact with the family, and we'll be sending them their plaque as well as a copy of the program. Of the many accomplishments that you'll note in that program, one of note is that Mr. Shannon was instrumental. He was a former English teacher and was instrumental in trying to change, I suppose, the culture somewhat of the school, and was very instrumental in getting us the formation of our art collection that you see hanging in our halls. Helped to bring that to Ottawa High School, so we thank him for that. Let me just say that Mr. Shannon is truly a legend around Ottawa High School. Many of our younger individuals, our teachers, and other individuals around campus, and our students know him as the namesake of our 700, our 800, and our 900 floor building. The other day, a member of the community was in my office for the first time. It was a very brief meeting, but as he stepped in and all the former superintendents are hanging on the wall behind me, he noticed Macrae Shannon's picture on the wall. His response was very typical of those that knew Mr. Shannon. The individual smiled, finally remembered him, as he stated, "Now there was an individual who commanded respect. It's an honor to induct this legend into our Hall of Fame." Our next inductee is Mr. Bill Novak, represented tonight by his daughter, Kim. I also believe that Holly and Carrie, his other children, are here with us. Okay?
I'd like to congratulate all the people here tonight being inducted into Ottawa's Hall of Fame. What an honor this is. The rest of us are delighted to be here to share in your tribute. Folks are selected for this distinction because in word or deed, in innovations in their field, or extraordinary caring of their fellow man, the honorees have shown a noteworthy degree of leadership. The world is a better place, and we have the option to be better people because of them. And I can't think of any better reason to celebrate. I'm truly thrilled that my dad was selected to be inducted this year, the 20th year after his death. There is one Bill Novak grandchild, my daughter Caitlin, who is a junior this year at OHS. Bill's 3 grandsons, Billy, Brian, and Andy, are recent grads of this school, so it's a pretty special night for them. Billy, Andy, and Brian were all very young when Dad died, and his granddaughters, Caitlin and Ann, were not yet born. So tonight is a great opportunity for them to get to know a bit more about the legend that was Bill Novak. Please feel free to share your stories with them. I, like brother Kerry and sister Holly, had the opportunity to know Dad as the coach. Kerry played football for him, and Holly and I were members of the OHS marching band. How exciting those autumn Friday nights were. Fresh breezes off the river and the aroma of hot popcorn permeated the air. The chant of cheerleaders, the swish of pom-poms, the shrill whistling commands of the drum majors, the chatter of the crowded stadium, the drum cadence of the marching band, they all filled our ears. Then the baby blue, red and white uniforms exploded in, grim, determined, a helmeted horde ready to rumble. Next came the coaches. One in particular, whose green eyes sparked excitement. He was known as Coach Novak, the coach, Jehovah, Wild Bill, Boom Boom, and I'm sure there were probably other less polite names at the time. It was the Pirates' Coach Novak that caused unease and fear in the rival team coaches and the refs, wondering what outrageous shenanigans he would be up to in this game. It was the Pirates' Coach Novak that caused glee and anticipation in the Ottawa fans, wondering what outrageous shenanigans he'd be up to in this game. It was Coach Novak that started the Root Hog or Die tradition here at OHS. Now, Root Hog or Die to Bill Novak was not a suggestion to politely do well, boys. It was a battle roar. It was a scream challenge. It was a snarled warning to the other side that this was a team to be reckoned with. I can still smell and hear and feel that glorious excitement of those decades past games, and I know I share those cherished memories with many of you. That was the Gale Wind force that was Coach Novak. Being a child of Bill Novak, I thought of Dad as being something primarily more than a coach. Now, as heretical and gaspy as that thought might be, that's what I really want to talk about tonight. The coach was, I believe, first and foremost, the finest team player that I will ever know. Bill Novak believed to the marrow of his bones in the power and the rightness of team play. He knew that a group of well-trained, hard-working, respectful individuals could do incredible things together. He saw a team as an integrated whole where each member had an equal value. That core belief in cooperative team spirit guided him in the 3 major teams that I saw him play on as I grew up. One team that Bill Novak was a delighted member of was Team OHS. He was very proud of the football program, of course. He was equally puffed up about the other sports programs, the speech team, the debaters, the FFA and other clubs, the student council, the thespians, just to name a few. He was enormously proud of OHS's music programs. How poignant that he is being inducted along with Miss Reckmeyer and Mr. Am, those mighty inheritors of Mr. McKeever's and Mr. Moose's talented batons. He was proud of the co-op program, the shop program, and Mr. Redden's special ed kids. He was honestly thrilled to be a co-worker of the fine custodians, the administration, his fellow teachers, and the lunchroom crew. Now, theoretically, he felt that all parts of the team were equal, but I often suspected that the lunchroom gals were just a shade higher in his estimation. In short, Bill Novak boisterously and joyfully supported any group that worked hard together and did their best at his school. He was so happy with the student body of OHS. He had a magical talent for motivating adolescents, whether on the football field or in the classroom. He had that unexplainable, enviable knack for reaching out to troubled teens and persuading them to make better choices. Of course he'd reach out to these kids. They were, after all, part of his OHS team. That was the strength of purpose that was Bill Novak. The second team that Bill Novak was a great player on was our local community. He saw the many, many jobs in our town as positions of a large team that makes up a society. When I graduated with my DVM, you know, a bit smug and a bit self-satisfied, well, Dad told me I'd have a swell future, so now I'm feeling really smug and really satisfied. But he said I'd have a swell future if I understood that I would never be more important than the persons who picked up our trash, that maintained our water and sewer systems, that grew our food, that trucked our goods, that laid the bricks, that policed our streets, etc., etc., etc. In other words, I better not get too uppity since I was one small member on a very large team. He felt exactly the same way about his role in this community. That was the humility and practicality that was Bill Novak. The ultimate team we all prepared for, in Dad's opinion, was our family teams. Schools, sports, clubs, organizations, all of them were but preparation for the most important role of all society, and that is as a responsible adult in our own families. Lessons learned in the mud and blood of a football field were meant to help meet the challenges of adult life. Teamwork mastered on King Field would help create adults pledged to the nurturing of their own families. Good team members were to become good parents, which would help establish an excellent society. That's the really glorious plan that every good coach, teacher, and mentor has. As a member of Family Team Novak, Bill played all positions with equal enthusiasm. He was a coach and he laid down the law to us when needed. Believe me, the football field was not the only place those amazing green eyes shot sparks. He cheerfully co-captained with our mom, his beloved Bernadoni. He also pitched in to scrub floors, cook meals, help with math, pretty up the 4-H sheet, critique English papers, go camping, go ice skating, roller skating all as our teammate. He had an astonishing amount of enthusiasm and energy and a non-stop, wicked sense of humor. I think it's pretty easy and important to salute the legacy of the coach. Whenever you find yourself in an impossible situation, growling past clenched teeth, half prayer and half curse, root hog or die, just to help you through, you remember the coach. Every time you reach out to a member of one of the teams you all play on to help, to teach, or to comfort, well, you honor the coach then. And when you understand that each member of your team is as important as any other, by golly, then you're smart enough to be your own coach. In conclusion, I'd like to thank some pretty important people. Thank you to Mr. Am and Ms. Reckmeyer, and all the present-day coaches, teachers, and mentors of our young people. Most of us in our daily grind work on today's problems and chores. You folks craft our future. I hope every single day you're able to feel our appreciation and our admiration. We certainly can't forget to acknowledge the huge contribution to the football program of Dad's coaching staff. To name a few, Ralph Nelson, Dean Riley, Ron Slack, Bob Redonis, Gary Bansell, Larry Miller, June Gross, Art Adams, Jim Sutherland, Bob Johnson, and others. Dad simply couldn't have done it without them. Thanks also to the wonderful OTHS football team of '66. Fellas, do you think you could stand up for me? Let's take a look at you here. Years and years of working with young men like them made my dad the happiest guy in the world. He often said no one in the universe had more fun in a job than he did. We've noted that Bill Novak had an uncanny talent for reaching out to young people, but without his teams reaching back with respect, with affection, and with a willingness to work hard, without that reaching back, there couldn't have been such OHS football magic. Much gratitude from all of us for those thrilling Friday nights. The Hall of Fame Committee and the OHS Educational Foundation have brought us together to celebrate the remembering of this remarkably warm, generous, inspiring man, our dad and grandfather, Coach Bill Novak. From the bottom of Team Novak's hearts, we thank you so very much. Root over to Iowa.
Our next inductee is Mr. John Betti from the class of 1948. Mr. Betti?
Thank you very much. We're going to break the order now. I'm going to represent myself. According to its charter, the purpose of the Hall of Fame is to highlight the accomplishments of inductees with the intention that the current students will be inspired by the standard of excellence and accomplishments achieved by the predecessors. And it's truly an honor to have been selected under those criteria. The charter makes it clear that this event is about the students of Ottawa High. So I have a message for the students. Now, you older folks can listen in if you care to. As the charter suggests, and it makes very clear, everyone needs heroes in their lives. Bernard Malamud, the author, said, "Without heroes, we are all plain people, and we don't know how far we can go." Now think about it. That's a powerful statement. Without heroes, we are all plain people and don't know how far we can go. Sometimes I think we look too hard for heroes, and as a result, we fail to recognize the heroes that are all around us and impacting our lives. For example, the first important heroes in my life were my parents, Louis and Ida Betti, who lived a good part of their lives and they played. They emigrated from a poor village in the mountains of northern Italy in search of a better life in the United States. They had no education, no money, no real skills. What they did have was a burning desire for a better life than their parents had, and the guts to pursue that objective, and the willingness to work hard to achieve it. They were also determined that their children would have an opportunity for a better life than they had. And that determination manifested itself before I was born. My mother discovered she was pregnant while she was waiting for approval for her application to emigrate from Italy to join my father who had returned to the U.S. The discovery motivated her to action. Without help, this unsophisticated, uneducated young woman clawed her way through the Italian government bureaucracy to get the necessary but hard to get approval to escape Mussolini's Italy. Pregnant and unable to speak English, she traveled alone from that small village in the mountains of Italy to a small town in Illinois. She was absolutely determined that her first child would be born in the United States with all of the advantages and the opportunities afforded citizens of this wonderful country. Second to citizenship, my parents were convinced that education was the key to a better life. And although they had never spent a day of their lives in the classroom, they were so convinced that they ingrained that conviction in me. It never occurred to me that I would not go to college. My parents provided me powerful examples of what can be done if one knows what one wants and is committed to achieving it. They are truly among my heroes. In addition, I have been very fortunate to have had by my side for the past 54 and a half years the most beautiful, helpful, and supportive partner anyone could possibly have. She put up with the long hours at work, the missed dinners, the moving, the traveling, while providing a safe haven for our family. She always put the needs of the family above her own. Her commitment and support have been unwavering. She is more than a heroine to me. She is truly the wind beneath my wings. We had 4 incredible daughters who, from the time they were born, have inspired me to try to be the best example I could be for them. I couldn't be more proud of them and count them among my very best friends. They have also enriched our lives by bringing into our family 3 great sons-in-law and providing us with 2 wonderful grandsons. Thank you for this honor. Whatever I have accomplished has been the direct result of the commitment, sacrifice, and guidance of my parents and the support of my wife and family. They are my heroes and deserve to share in this recognition. And I'd like to leave 2 thoughts with you. First, Charles Horton Cooley said, "To have no heroes is to have no aspiration." And the second thought is, while looking for those heroes, don't overlook the ones closest to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Betti. Our next inductee is Mr. Tom Henderson. Mr. Henderson?
Thank you, John. Thank you, Mary, for that A- in speech. You know, I had her as a student my 3rd year of school. Doesn't she look good for 9 years old? You know, this is one of the finest moments of my life. When I was informed by Don Harris of my selection into the Hall of Fame, he asked if I would be able to be here. Why would anybody want to leave Arizona in June and January when the temperature's 70 degrees out and come up to this? I can tell you why. I love this school. I really do. 3 days ago, I was playing golf in shorts and a short-sleeve shirt. The day I went out, I only had on a sweater, a shirt, and a jacket. What the heck? I want to thank the selection committee and all the individuals who put this weekend together, because this is a fantastic situation. I feel fortunate to have taught at Ottawa High School at the time that I did. I started in 1954 and coached until 2000. Macrae Shannon was our superintendent when I began teaching and coaching at OHS. He was an outstanding leader who expected excellence, and most of the time he got it. And I think his expectations rubbed off on many of the teachers, and certainly on some of the students. He spent long hours at the school. He worked hard. I remember if we went by the school at 9:30 at night, we'd look up and the light would be on in his office. That made you think, I have to work like that too. Gil Love was our athletic director at the time that I came, and I can still remember the first day at OHS. I'm just a young kid. I'm scared to death. I'm walking down the passageway that we took on the way over from the cafeteria, and this gentleman sees me. He says, "Hi, Tom. How you doing?" We had never met. And I was with Art Adams, and I asked Art, "Who is that man?" He said, "That's Gil Love." And I'm like, God, Gil Love? I mean, he was a legend. What a way to make a young teacher to feel welcome. That's the type of people we had at our school at that time. I coached with some really great guys. Dean Riley, Gary Vansel, and Jim Harris in basketball. Two of them are here tonight, and one was honored last year in the Hall of Fame. Lyle Gunter was my assistant for many years in tennis. He was so important to our program. I mean, we spent hours together in the summer, fall, spring, working with our players. We could not have done the things we did without working together. I will always consider these men among my very best friends. When I come back to Ottawa, I try to see every one of them. Some of them come out to Arizona. We usually get together, and it's something I look forward to. You know, teaching and coaching is not always a joy. There are bad days. Some days in the classroom, you think, my God, did that lesson go bad? Some days in the athletic field, you lose a close game. One that maybe you should have won. And then you have to go home, and your family gets to put up with you. My son, Tom, and my wife, Lynn, they're here somewhere. They're two of the people who really put up with me a lot. Would you stand up, please? I'm not sure where they are. The student athletes whom I coached were really outstanding young men and women. A huge percentage of them graduated from college. You know, I lost track of the number, but I know in the first 25 years I coached, all but one student, all but one tennis player went to college. And I just thought that was outstanding. A large percentage of them graduated from college, I think somewhere over 90%. One year, our top 6 girls on our tennis team had a cumulative grade point average of 4.0. If you know what that is, that's a straight A. I mean, that's the type of athlete we have. And with those kind of athletes, how can you not have success? We try to teach our players to work hard, compete, and play ethically. In other words, play within the rules of the game. We hope we succeeded in most cases. Because of that, that's what kept me coaching for 47 years at Ottawa High School. And I think if I were still here, I'd still try to coach. That's how much I love the school, that's how much I enjoy doing the job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson. Our next inductee is Mr. Roger Ann. Mr. Ann?
Thank you very much. When I arrived in Ottawa in the fall of '81, I had the honor of working with many great educators and coaches. Among them were Ray McKeever, June Gross, Tom Henderson, Ron Slack, Ralph Nelson, and Bill Novak. At the time, I heard many, many stories about the great football teams of the Novak era, and especially the undefeated teams like the '66 team. Ray McKeever would talk with reverence about Mr. Shannon, who he considered to be the greatest administrator ever. And I would hear Marla Smith go on and on about Craig McCormick, who was an outstanding basketball player and also a great human being. And even though they had either retired or moved on from OTHS before I got here, I got to know and respect Gil Love and Dean Riley for their accomplishments and for the outstanding people that they were. I'm truly humbled and honored to be mentioned with these people and the other inductees and Hall of Famers. I'd like to thank the people who were so kind to nominate me, and the OTHS Foundation and the Hall of Fame Committee for all that they have done to make this such a special event, something I will remember for the rest of my life. When Susan McDonald asked for a picture of me so they could make a plaque of the Hall of Fame wall across from the cafeteria, I thought, man, I love to eat in the cafeteria. And I cannot imagine coming out of there on a full stomach every day and looking up at this. It's enough to make me want to take a sack lunch and eat in my office or something. On the occasion that I do take notice of the plaques on the wall and see my face up there, I'll immediately think of the people who should be up there with me. First of all, my parents, John and Edna, my brothers and sisters, Marion, Vivian, Johnny, and Brian, who raised me and set my moral compass and set me out with lots of love and support that continues today. And I'm so glad that my mom and dad, who are 83, were able to be here tonight to celebrate with me. I appreciate them being here. I'll see the choir and band directors from Pontiac and the ISU professors who fostered my love for music and strengthened my abilities as a teacher and a musician. I'll think of Russ McKay, who I'm sure none of you recognize that name. He was the principal for my first position at Wheaton North High School. I taught there 1 year. And on the occasion of the Friday afternoon before my first day of teaching ever, I'd had a bad day at a teacher in service, and I went to him in his office, knocked on his door, and he said, "Mr. McKay, I think you made a mistake. I don't think I can do this. I don't think I'm going to be a very good teacher." Could have been the shortest job that there ever was, but because he was such a kind person, he just sat me down, called me down, and said, "You're going to do just fine." And I'm glad that he did. When I arrived here, Dr. Larry Gehring and Ed Johnston interviewed me and hired me the week before school was to begin, and rescued me from a life as a maintenance splicer with a telephone company. I'll see the faces of music educators at OTHS who set a standard of excellence and paved the way for our current success. People like Hall of Famer Ray McKeever, John Hoff, Art Hendrich, and BJ Moose. Some of these people who I hope will be in the Hall of Fame in the near future. I'll see the elementary and junior high music educators from our feeder schools, from past and present, who've instilled the love of music in their students, prepared and encouraged them to continue on into our programs here at the high school. I'll see the 7 superintendents I've served, the dozens of principals, assistant principals, and board members who have shown nothing but their support for our program through the years. A great faculty and staff, both past and present, who have consistently shown their support to us in many different ways. I'll see custodians from Dale Allen to Brad Johnson. They're all great people and wonderful to work with, and they've always been so helpful to Ms. Reckmeyer and I in the physical aspects of our program. There's 3 main people that I have to highlight, and you'll see why. Gail Cross, who is our accompanist, has been for a number of years. Is just such a reliable and hardworking individual, and she brings such passion to her playing, and she works hard for our students, and I'm just so grateful for her help. To Barb Kinser, our music assistant, who there is no way in the world that Sarah and I could possibly do the things that we do without her help. She was always there, thinking ahead of me, at least. I don't know about Sarah, but she's always thinking ahead for me and helping with preparations for concerts and all that. Barb Kinser, I appreciate your help so much. To Sarah Reckmeyer, who I consider the hardest working woman in education. It's an honor to be inducted with my friend and colleague who shares a similar vision for our program and is always in the pursuit of excellence. It's been a great ride, and I hope it continues. Number 1, I want to recognize is our students, the thousands of students that I've had the privilege to work with. They're the true reason for our success here at Ottawa High School. Their hard work and dedication have been an inspiration to me, and I cherish the relationships, the memories, and musical moments that we have shared together and hopefully will share. Anything I may have been able to give to them has been returned to me tenfold. To my children, Christine, Tyler, and Andrew, I'm just very proud of you and full of love for you. I apologize for the times, especially when you were younger, that I did not walk the fine line between being a parent and being an educator, for the times that I spent too much time at the job. But hopefully you will understand, and I hope you can forgive me, and I hope you can be proud of your old man. To my wife, Carol Sue, no way am I standing here today without you. You sacrificed a lot, and I'm so very lucky to have your love and support. I love you very much. It's taken a long time to say something that can really be put very simply. The success of the OHS music program does not rest on one person, or 2 people, 3, or even 4. The success of the music program rests in the hands of literally thousands of people working together for the common good. and it has been good. And even though I stand here uneasily in the spotlight for a moment, I realize I'm not alone. I've known from the beginning that God has had his hand in placing me here. Teaching music at Ottawa High School is what I was meant to do. And this honor is one of the many, many blessings God has provided for me through the years. I'm grateful for the gifts he's given me, and I only hope I have and will continue to honor him through these gifts. I love Ottawa. It's been a great place to live and raise a family. The community has been so supportive, and I'm truly grateful. And I love Ottawa High School. To me, it's the best school there is. And I will bleed crimson and white until the end. Thank you so very, very much for this honor.
Thank you, Sarah Reckmeyer.
Thank you to the Hall of Fame Committee and all who helped with tonight's celebration. I am honored and humbled the committee felt Roger Ann and I were deserving to be included with this outstanding class of excellent and first-rate individuals. When you surround yourself with great people, great things can happen. And that's what's occurred with the OHS Music Department and our success with the IHSA State Music Sweepstakes competitions. As the Ottawa High School Band Director, I inherited a tradition of excellence. That tradition began over 50 years ago when Ray McKeever and John Kinnison put the Ottawa Band program on the map. Another group of people who have upheld the tradition of excellence are the past and present Ottawa High School administrators and school board members. Their willingness to let me administer the OHS Band program with the best interest of the students in mind has been a huge asset to the program. The OHS staff, my colleagues, have also been supportive, especially in allowing students to attend small group band lessons during the school day. The community of Ottawa has encouraged the music students by attending concerts and supporting our fundraisers. Local businesses have promoted the music department by purchasing newspaper ads and airtime on our area radio stations to promote our concerts. Ottawa High School is a great place for students. There are many wonderful opportunities for them. The teaching is exceptional. We have a positive environment in which to work and learn. I feel fortunate to be at a school where I can develop and share my love of music. The OHS Band program is an extension of the elementary music programs in our area. I am thankful for the elementary music teachers who prepare and encourage the band students to participate in their respective programs, so I eventually have the opportunity to teach these students at the high school level. A college professor once told me, a person would teach music for one of two reasons, a love of music or a love of kids. At the time I thought, well, I love music. So I'm going into teaching because I want to share my love of music. Music speaks to the soul. It is a privilege to share with my students how music has touched, enriched, and encompassed my life. It is my hope to help them develop a lifelong love of this beautiful art. My goal is for them to keep music in their lives throughout their lives. But the more I teach, the more I realize it's about the students. I had the opportunity to teach and to get to know kids for 4 years. I get to share in their high school experience like few other teachers. It's exciting to see a lesser skilled musician have a light bulb go on about a musical idea we've been working on for weeks. But it's also a huge reward to have a student become an IMEA All-Stater or choose music as a profession. Either way, we're always working toward excellence and developing a love for music. As you can tell, I have been blessed by the great people who surround me. To reach goals honestly and through hard work, everyone has to have a support system. Finally, tonight I want to thank my immediate support system. The current music staff at OHS, Roger Ann and Barb Kinser.
The IHSA State Championships are a department achievement. I'm so fortunate to teach and work with these first-class individuals. My parents and family. My parents are retired music teachers. I can count on one hand the number of OHS band concerts that they have missed over the past 19 years, but they were unable to attend tonight's festivities. I have 3 brothers and their families, and they're spread out in Texas, Nebraska, and Germany. Until about 4 hours ago, I thought none of them could be here tonight. However, my oldest brother, Matt Reckmeyer, surprised me and flew in from Nebraska to share this special evening. My colleague and friend, Ottawa Shepherd Band Director Donna Martin, her parents, and my friends who are here tonight. Thanks for sharing this evening with me. And of course, finally, my students. The reason I teach music, the reason I'm being honored here tonight, and the reason I enjoy going to work every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Our next inductee from the class of 1978, Mr. Craig McCormick.
I want to acknowledge my appreciation for the other people that were nominated in this class also, and thanking the committee that is putting on this great event. You know, I only spent 3 years and maybe partial couple of summers here in Ottawa, but I learned a lot, and I owe a lot of that to my grandparents that opened up their house to allow my family to move here. That's Raymond and Sylvia McCormick. We came back here from Oakland, California, metropolitan city, 350,000 people, and it was a difficult choice for my parents, Don and Betti McCormick, to relocate my sister and I. My other brother and 2 sisters had all moved on. But I owe so much of that decision that they made to leave the roots that they had built for 23 years, 24 years out in California to come back to Ottawa, Illinois. And the driving force of that was the McCormick family that continues to be here and is well represented throughout the community. You know, I came in as a tall, skinny, lanky young man, shy, but with that extended McCormick, the strength of that McCormick family that was here, and the friendships that I developed with Kevin Kimes, Keith Kimes, the entire Kimes family, made it for a smooth transition, along with the administrators here at Ottawa High School. You know, I'm a firm believer that athletics, and especially team athletics, allows you to lay a foundation for a lot of the other things that you choose to do in life. And when you have success in the athletic fields, especially that team sport, where you learn camaraderie, the acceptance of roles, and the chemistry that you have to develop to succeed as a team, I think that just continues to propel you through the rest of your life, and I know that's the impact that it had on me. That was just laying the foundation, and while I was here, some of the people that built those blocks was obviously Dean Rowling, and Dean was not only an educator on the court, but he was also an educator for me in the math classroom, and I appreciate all that he did for me. Gary Vansel was our assistant coach. You know, Gary's impact was significant there too. He kind of worked with me on the inside game. That was pretty significant. He kind of shared with me a story last night that when I did come in here, he and Coach Riley were meeting in the summer of '75, and they were sitting there thinking, and Dean had mentioned to him, said, you know, we just might have a pretty decent team this year if we just had one big guy. All of a sudden, my dad calls down here and says, you know, we relocated and looking to come, and my son played a little basketball out in California. So we came on through the door of the gym, in the Kingman gym over there, during the summer, late summer, came in, introduced ourselves, and Coach Riley goes, so what position did you play? You know, why don't you go down there in the box and let me throw you the ball a little bit? And I said, no, Coach, I played on the outside. There was another guy taller than me on my junior high school team. So anyhow, he put me down in the box, and that's where I started learning. But although Gary Mansell, didn't have we didn't have the root hog and die significance, Mr. Agile, mobile, and hostile, that's what he helped instill in all of us. And then Jim Harris, his support during those years. I think high school is one of those times that you can go a lot of different directions. And I had a tremendous amount of classmates and also teammates that I thought we did some pretty significant things here. I just remember the times that we kind of unified a community here, and I heard some stories that maybe prior to my sophomore year, that Ottawa really didn't progress past some of the district play for like 10 years. So I thought that was a significant event that we were able to do, is to have success in that. But as we went on through my next few years in basketball, it was neat how the community really comes together and the excitement that is built through high school athletics, more so than college. Yes, there's a lot of television and everything that goes along with college. Even more so in pro basketball that I had some opportunity to do. But it was the high school experience that you had to unify that community, all except for those guys over at the other school, Marquette. But even though, while we were unifying in 1978, I think the entire community had an opportunity to unify and do something very special. And I think that was the first time in the state of Illinois that not only did one school in a community attend the state championship, that was Marquette, that went down and played the Class A tournament, but there was two schools that attended at the same time, and we were able to go down there and do that. So I thought it was a very special time in the community of Ottawa. But going to some of those tournaments, part of what I remember is coming back on those bus rides, and the entire community left and got on those yellow buses and drove down there. And the sight of rolling back into the gymnasium here and the support of everybody in the community was very rewarding and very special and very meaningful to me to see all those flashing lights on those buses coming back into town. So, Ottawa High School has had a tremendous impact on me. I appreciate everything that has occurred here. It wasn't just success out there on the basketball floor. I always valued that an education also. And so there's numerous administrators and teachers that had an influence in the beginning of what I wanted to do in life. And I'm only partially there. We'll continue to take the values that I've learned here at Ottawa High School. And I very much appreciate this opportunity tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCormick. Our final inductees represent the 1966 varsity football team. A few individuals from this team, I believe they're going to introduce their teammates as they accept the induction recognition. As they introduce the teammates, I'll be presenting them with a medallion to commemorate their induction. I'm overwhelmed by the number of teammates that have been able to join us this evening, as well as last night. Thank you, gentlemen. For those individuals that were unable to attend, we'll be sending their medallions to them or to their families. At this time, I believe the first individual speaking on behalf of the team, Mr. Brian Nagel. Mr. Nagel.
Well, I think the other speaker this evening on behalf of our team is Bob Burns. I was always second behind him as the quarterback of the team, but I get to speak first tonight. I'm very humbled to be here with these other inductees, incredible accomplishments, and also to be a speaker on behalf of our football team. You don't know how much we appreciate the committee bestowing this honor on our team. We've been telling anyone that would listen, especially our wives and children, who had little choice, that our football team was really, really good. In fact, we were great. thank you for validating what we have believed for a very long time. I'm an attorney by profession, not one of those slick-talking litigators, but just a simple paper pusher. Yet all attorneys are really just professional plagiarizers. So in putting together a memory book for our team, I had the pleasure the past couple of weeks to review the thoughts from many of the teammates who shared with me. And I'd like to share some of those perspectives and offer a few of my own. I believe the genesis for our remarkable 66 season actually began the previous fall, when we faced Rochelle, and they brought their 35-game win streak to King Field. Not a word was spoken between classes all day. But at the pep rally on Friday afternoon, the stomping and chanting of "Stop Their Drive at 35," and Coach Novak's declaration, which I don't believe he had ever done before, that we would win, absolutely raised the roof. We did stop their drive that evening by a 14-7 score, and from that game on, we truly believed that we were unbeatable. I have to say I had a very small contribution in that game. Rochelle's All-State fullback, who was a classmate of Bob's at University of Illinois for 4 years, got through the line, and I was the only one left between him and the goal. Somehow, I got in front of him and endeavored to make the tackle, but he completely bowled me over. Fortunately, he slipped as he was stepping on my chest. And more fortunately, he tripped on my face mask, thus saving that touchdown. I'd like to introduce the players for our unbelievable football team. Bill Bernadoni was a lineman. Bill works in insurance and financial services in Ottawa. And his most memorable experience was from that Rochelle game, actually, when we were juniors and Bill was a sophomore. And he said the absolute incredible energy that resonated when the varsity took the field against Rochelle, that Rochelle team in their 35-game win streak. Bob Burns, our quarterback and safety, All-State, All-American. Bob played his last college football game in Illinois against Iowa and against another one of our high school teammates, Ken Harrington. Bob's lived in Park City since college, coached many championship football teams in Utah during his 18 years of coaching, and he was named Coach of the Year by numerous peer groups. Joel Chekowitz was a running back who now practices dentistry in Ottawa. Joel wrestled for 2 years at Iowa and had the privilege of wrestling arguably the finest and best known United States wrestler ever, Dan Gable. I asked Joel how long he lasted last night, but I don't remember. Fred Chrysler, running back and defensive back. He played football. He played football for Lee College and lives in Texas. And Fred is retired from AT&T and enjoys watching his son Austin play quarterback for his high school team now. Alan Dooley, lineman. Unfortunately, Alan, who played football for Montana, passed away 2 years ago in November. But his wife, Peggy, from Oklahoma City, is here with Alan's father as well. And she noted in her comments to me that we heard much about the Ottawa Pirates and this unbelievable team. And that Alan's memories and enthusiasm were an inspiration to our 3 sons. He had a smile, a laugh, and a word of encouragement, especially for young football and baseball players. Bill Fauch, in. Bill played football at Valparaiso University, is now retired and living in Maryland. Bill noted that the strong bonds of friendship developed as a pirate have never been forgotten. I recall Bill getting his bell rung in the Marquette game, our last game of the year. I ushered him most of the way to the bench because he couldn't find it. And then in the next play, typical of his intensity, he's back in the huddle. Still not knowing where he was. Until he finally got ushered off the field once and for all. Bill Goodman, running back. Bill works as a welder in Street and resides in Marseilles and has shared an unbelievable scrapbook that his mother had prepared with everyone through this weekend that we've all thoroughly enjoyed. Gary Brenner, lineman. Gary played football for Joliet Junior College before graduating from Northern Illinois University. He works in the Silicon Valley and is group president for his company's operations in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. Gary recalled an incident that I also vividly remembered from the Rochelle game our senior year. It was late in the game and we were whooping on the hubs like we did everyone else that year. And the referee came into our defensive huddle and said, "Boys, you are the best team I've ever seen, but you swear way too much." Jeff Hale was our fullback and linebacker in All-State. He played football at Southern Illinois University, lives in Texas, is president of his local electrical union. Unfortunately, Jeff could not be with us because of his illness of his wife. But in his comments, he recalls the 4-play blitzkrieg from the Streeter game. As we were going in for a touchdown, Jeff got flagged for something that I'm certain he didn't do. Coach Novak came onto the field to protest and got another 15-yard penalty. And when he asked to have some friendly conversation with the officials, the referee threw another flag. The offense did not take kindly to this littering of laundry. Commenced a 4-play drive that was interspersed with sprints to the huddle, sprints to the line, and exclamations from a Streeter lineman, "Oh my God, here they come again." No time for plays to be sent in, no need, just the same fullback sweep for 10+ yards of crack and a touchdown for Jeff. Ken Harrington, a lineman, he played football at the University of Iowa and owns an antique business in Iowa. He was unable to be here as he's taking his daughter, who is also a scholarship athlete, back to college this weekend. Stan Cranoff, lineman and linebacker. As you know, we lost Stan July 1st after our senior year. Stan earned a football scholarship to Lee College. His brother John, who accepted the medallion, and his father are here this evening. And in his comments, John noted the saying that his parents kept on their refrigerator. "I will always cry sometimes because I miss him, but I will always laugh sometimes because I knew him." I remember Stan for his intense love of the game. In our famous and probably most memorable game with the third-ranked LaSalle Peru, the coach for LP had said, "Ottawa's a good team, but they don't hit very hard." Well, before we went out onto the field, Coach Novak reminded us of the quote and told us, "Every time you tackle them, I want you to ask them, do we hit hard?" Well, we won the game 48-0, and late in the game, Stan tackled their 6'4" fullback, and of course looked him straight in the eye and asked, "Do we hit hard?" He got up, put his tail between his legs, and I still remember to go, "Stan, you're my hero." And I can say that Stan was certainly a hero to all of us as well. Ernie Matthews, running back. Ernie played football at Southern Illinois University and has had a career coaching and refereeing in Florida, and officiated a number of state championship football games at Swamp at the University of Florida. And he's not here this evening because he was being inducted into the Florida Officials Hall of Fame tonight as well. Gary Mooney, lineman. Gary graduated from Provide and has lived in Ottawa and worked at Libby Owens for the last 35 years. Just hard for him to keep a job, I guess. Paul Moose, center. Paul played football at St. Olaf College and was coached and taught music in Minnesota. Paul was very quiet and never, ever said a swear word. The only one. In his comments, he notes, after going through a litany of reasons why we're so good, he just concludes with, "Oh, shoot, it was great." Kerry Novak, lineman. Kerry played football at Carroll College and graduated from St. Francis University. And as he noted, he did not graduate magna or summa cum laude. But as his parents said, he graduated thank the Lodi. Kerry is superintendent for the Chamonix Lake State Park just north of here. I wanted to remind all of those dumb linemen, as they were affectionately referred to by our coaching staff, boom, bite, drive. Randy Olsen, in. Randy played football at Luther College and participated in the first NCAA Division III Amos Alonzo Stag Bowl. Randy wrote in his memories of the LP game, the opposing players were huge and fast and we pounded them 48-0. What a night, what a season, what a privilege to be a member of that team. Randy is a Lutheran minister and presently a chaplain in the hospital in Scottsdale. Chuck Fowle, lineman. Chuck played football at Columbia University, and he includes his gigs as parks manager, penthouse gardener, teacher, and author. Go figure. And lives in Rosemont. And he notes his best career move is leaving the farm after OHS. But inheriting the farm is priceless. And for his words of wisdom, to play football, one has to be smart enough to understand the game and dumb enough to think it's important. And for a short time, in a small community, we believe just that. Larry Pike, lineman. Larry is the owner of the Silo restaurant in Lake Bluff and counts Gary Fensick, Lovey Smith, and other past and current Bears as regulars in his restaurant. I'm sure Larry will be passing out some free coupons for his restaurant this evening. Dick Pope, lineman. As you may know, Dick passed away just this past November, but not until after he learned of this wonderful honor. Dick also played football in college, ultimately received his PhD from North Carolina and was a professor at Auburn University. In Dick's email to me, he offered the following: be who you are and say what you feel, because those that matter don't mind, and those that mind don't matter. Ken Butchery was a lineman. We believe he lives in Aurora. We were unable to communicate with him. Mick Rowe, lineman. Mick returned to the family farm after graduating from Western Illinois and now farms 2,300 acres south of town. He's a true green thumb, using ethanol and biodiesel and now constructing a 400-foot windmill. And his motto, just like football, any job, anywhere, anytime. Galen Rigg, running back and quarterback. Galen lives in Ottawa, and I don't think anyone, as we've been to our different events through the weekend, has enjoyed it as much as Galen has. It's just been great to see him. Steve Sipula, and All-State Honorable Mention All-American. As you know, Steve also left us on that fateful July 1st after we graduated, way too soon. Steve had a full scholarship to play at Valparaiso after deciding against playing at Purdue. His sister Tina wrote, "I was disappointed that Steve's tombstone had only his athletic accomplishments and state records, but soon realized that is all that could be recorded in stone or on reels or on score sheets or in trophy cases. But what is embedded in our hearts and in our tender memories is a young man who was kind, was quick to smile, was surrounded with good friends, and then added, was honest. Noting the time Steve called home to tell his mother, I'm going to be a little late tonight because Susie and I are going necking in the cemetery. That's the Steve I remember. Ron Sohn, in. Ron enlisted in the Navy and spent 26 months in Vietnam. And he was on the ship that picked up the Apollo 13 moon mission. You remember Tom Hanks? No, I guess Tom Hanks wasn't there, was he? Ron lives outside Seattle and is chief engineer for a company that builds and maintains high-rise office buildings. Fletcher Wells, running back. Fletcher resides in Ottawa and has worked with the city of Ottawa for 35 years. Another one of those people who just have trouble keeping a job. Chuck Willett, lineman. Chuck lives in Montana and could not be with us. But he wrote, as a team and as individuals, our Ottawa Pirates learned what it took to win, and win big. Though more than once, we ended up working almost as hard to keep from running up the score. Standing on the sidelines, which he said he did a lot, he had two vivid memories. First, late in the game, our play call was fumble on 2. Again. And this time, make sure the other team recovers it. And the other was from an opposing player coming to the sidelines from his huddle and saying, no way, I don't want that ball again. Jim Zido, lineman. Jim played football at Illinois State University, now lives in Las Vegas and works for the water district there, and had made reservations and had a work conflict, must be too much snow out there, and was unable to be here. For those who are keeping score, that's 16 out of 29 that either played or were scheduled to play football in college, and 2 others from that group that also played varsity sports at Division I schools and other than football. A pretty incredible percentage, and clearly part of the reason for our success. However, none of this would have been possible without our extraordinary coaches, Coach Novak, Coach Nelson, Coach Riley, Coach Slack. Most everyone acknowledged the positive influence they were, not only on our team, but also on our lives. They instilled the ethics of hard work, teamwork, and pride. Bob Burns noted that he used plays, methods, and strategies that he learned from these mentors so many years ago. Randy Olsen wrote, our coaching staff functioned as an extraordinary team that brought out the best in each of us. Chuck Willett added, they set the standard high, individually, collectively, and deliberately, and that we learned how to win with class. You have already heard about Coach Novak. I'd also like to introduce and thank Coach Nelson, who coordinated the defense and retired and lives in Ottawa. Coach Riley was our offensive coordinator, and as you all know, passed away some years ago as well. Son, he's not here. Finally, Coach Slack, who's also retired and lives in Ottawa, but still is a volunteer football coach and helping the Pirates continue to rebound and die. I would also like to recognize our managers, Bob Reesberg, Jim Wigapole, and Don Woodger. Larry Gooden, who passed away. And our biggest fan and most loyal booster and recent recipient of the Lifetime OHS Booster Award, Ron Weaver, who is here. Bob Burns will speak about the offense, but I'd like to mention a couple of things about the defense. I had the honor to be able to call defensive signals for the defense, and that's about all that I did. Defensive line and linebackers were so good that a running back rarely got to me, and a receiver rarely ever saw the ball thrown to him because the quarterback had been sacked. We had not given up a score of any kind until the third quarter of our final game. Somehow the Marquette quarterback avoided a sack and threw down the middle. I looked over and saw Burns and Chrysler surrounding this little receiver, and somehow, some way, our guys bumped, and surprisingly, and I think especially to the Marquette receiver, the ball ended up in his hands. Though we won the game, dominated the statistics, and completed an undefeated season, we were devastated to give up that touchdown. The next day in the papers, John Pisabasic, the long-standing and extraordinarily well-respected Marquette coach, put it all in perspective. He stated, "I feel this Ottawa team is the greatest club I have ever matched heads with or have ever seen play in high school. I've said this time and again, and I want to say it again. This is the finest high school team I have ever seen." I think John Pisabasic, that referee in the Rochelle game, didn't like our language, and his Hall of Fame committee got it right. With apologies to Paul Moose, we were damn good. Thank you very much on behalf of all my teammates, coaches, managers, and cheerleaders for this wonderful honor.
Very well done, Brian. One would expect that from a attorney.
The attorney who misses a very, very important person, and that is Brian Nielsen. Brian was a sophomore on this team, and obviously was an extraordinarily talented athlete to be brought up to the varsity. He made great contributions to it. The next 2 years, he was a leading rusher for the Pirates and had all kinds of individual honors as he became a senior. And I think I have to say that, and maybe there was an extra specialness that we had for Brian because, again, as you probably well know, his brother also passed away on that July 1st, and he was a dear friend of all of ours, and we just we appreciated having Brian with us, and you know, we saw a lot of his brother and all the things that Brian did. So I apologize for missing that the first time. But he bumped into me getting introduced last night, so.
Like Brian, I'd like to thank all those folks involved in this event, and we're honored to be on the same stage with you folks. It's a tremendous honor to us. We'd also like to mention how Bill Novak did a tremendous job of getting the entire school together, and the efforts of the cheerleaders, the student body, the teachers, the faculty, just fabulous for us. Our team was a little bit different than some of the other teams. We had a little bit of diversity, We had a choir boy at center, and we had a guy who drove a chopped Harley at end, and I think that worked to our benefit. The offense can be characterized by its talent, athleticism, diversity, and its ability to score points rapidly. Although starters were listed at each position, everybody played. And what would happen, we would be so far ahead. In one game, we had second team and third team players in the second quarter, and that was the game where the play came in where fumble onto, that was the first play. The second play was fumble on 2 and don't recover this time. A great staff, and a great staff that did an excellent job. We had talented people. I'd like to say just a brief word about each of the seniors, because I think, having coached for many years, the seniors are the heart of the team. The juniors and sophomores, they need to be congratulated because they carried on the heritage of Ottawa football. They went undefeated the next year. The 1968 homecoming queen, 67 homecoming queen is here tonight, Becky Grove. She married, was fortunate enough, I was fortunate enough, let me rephrase that. I've already gotten in trouble once today, so. But I'd like to start with Bill Gooden. And Bill, if you could stand up. And as you notice, are you standing up, Bill? Bill was one of the smallest players, but he had the biggest heart and always driving forward. McCrae, great practice player, special teams player. His jokes kept the linemen laughing during the boom, bite, and drive drill, which only the linemen understand. Galen Rigg, a talented athlete who made the most of his opportunities, great tackler and a great runner in his own right. And what Brian and I would do when we had tackling practice, we would always work it so Galen would be in line to tackle Jeff Hale, because neither Brian and I wanted to do that. Ron Sohn, good hands and a great hustler, got a touchdown pass against Hall. Paul Moose, not one bad snap the whole year. Anybody who watched football, that doesn't happen. High school, college, pros, not one bad snap the whole year. Bill Fouch, multi-talented and hard-nosed, great defender, punted well. His injury, as Brian mentioned at Marquette, really dampened our focus. Brian Nagel, 3 points, 3 sports star, great pitcher, defensive signal caller, had the best arm in the squad. Dick Pope, as Brian mentioned, unfortunately passed away, but he was the biggest player on the squad, made the starters better by challenging them every day. Kerry Novak, unique situation, coach's son. Tremendous pressure on him, and he took... we were glad Kerry was on the team because we knew he would get it before we would. Fred Chrysler. Fred could do anything on the field, and he had the confidence to try. If returns were included in total yardage, he probably would have the most yards of anybody. Steve Sipula, best athlete in the team. 14-4 in hurdles, MVP. In basketball, caught every ball. Still has records in pass receptions. Jeff Hale was the best football player on the team. Chuck Fopp, Columbia bound, best lineman. Great basketball player. Stan Cranoff, smallest lineman, but toughest. Wouldn't back down from anybody. A great fan. As I mentioned earlier, I was honored to be a part of this team. I have memories that I visit daily. A humble thank you for me. Root hog or die.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 2008 Hall of Fame inductees. Indeed, if I did not introduce the award-winning OHS Jazz Choir to sing us home with our song. Ladies and gentlemen, are you there? Here they come. Please feel free to sing along.
When you hear the rooters yelling, rock, 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 when you hear the chorus singing, Ottawa, forth come our heroes, raising their voice. When you see the team go crashing on, rushing on to victory, raise your voices high and let it play for Ottawa. Crimson and white, we're marching onward, courage and strength we owe to you. To Ottawa, may we ever be true, a mighty may pursue. Joy and love, loyal, heart beats true. Each task before us, reaches all high for you. For us, our high school days will all be born to thy standard faithful ever as of yore. We'll still remember your precepts true. When you see your sons and daughters striving on, rising unto great renown, then you'll know that we've been ever loyal. Ottawa, crimson and white, we're marching onward, courageous we owe to you. To Ottawa, may we ever be true, the life we may pursue. Joy and love, ever loyal, each loyal heart beats true. Defeating each task before us, reaches all high for you. O-O-O-T-T-A-A-A-W-A, Ottawa, Ottawa, Ottawa.
And on behalf of the Foundation Board, our administration, and the many committee members who worked so diligently in selecting this year's inductees, putting together tonight's dinner, decorating the hall, we thank you. We look forward to seeing you again next year. Safe home. Good night.
When you hear the rooters yelling, rock, 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 when you hear the chorus singing, Ottawa, forth come our heroes, facing their foes. When you see the team go crashing on, rushing on to victory, raise your voices loud and let acclaim for Ottawa. Crimson and white, we're marching onward, courage and strength we owe to you. To Ottawa, may we ever be true in the life we may pursue. Each boy and girl ever loyal, each loyal heart beating true. In beating, defeating each task before us, reaches all high for you. Soon for us our high school days will all be o'er, to thy standard faithful ever as of yore. We'll still remember your precepts true. When you see your sons and daughters striving on, rising on to great renown, then you'll know that we've been ever loyal. Ottawa, crimson and white, we're marching onward, courage and strength we owe to you. To Ottawa, may we ever be true in the life we may pursue. Each boy and girl ever loyal, each loyal heart beating true. In beating, defeating each task before us, reaches all high for you. O-O-O-T-T-A-A-A-W-A, Ottawa, Ottawa, Ottawa. faithful ever as of yore. We'll still remember your precepts true. When you see your sons and daughters striving on, rising on to great renown, then you'll know that we've been